And at the beginning of 2023, you might remember I brought this word from Deuteronomy 1, where God tells the Israelites, you've been long enough at this mountain. And the sense that there were mountains in our lives as a community and personally where we just got stuck. And God was saying, hey, it's time to move on. And I think in 2023, we moved on massively. We moved on from COVID. So we'd been in this COVID place for 3 years, but actually it feels like now we've moved on from COVID. The conversation isn't all around COVID and we've learnt lessons from it, but we've moved on from that. And I know for individuals, a whole load of individuals would say, hey, things are different at the end of 2023 to how they were at the start. There's things that people were stuck at and, they've broken. But there's one mountain that we haven't left behind, and that's the mountain of our financial challenge. And in 2023, we knew we had a deficit budget. So we budgeted, our expenditure, we knew was going to be about £180,000 more than our income. And we had reserves to cover that. In the end, the deficit was actually about £147,000, so it wasn't as bad as we thought it was, but it's a lot of money. And our giving actually was flat in 2023 compared to 2022. So actually, although everything's going up, 10% with all interest and everything, actually our giving was pretty much identical in 2023 to 2022. And that means that this year we still have a deficit budget. And it's smaller, it's a deficit of about £56,000. But it's still a deficit. And that is reliant on a significant increase in our 2023 giving. And obviously in 2023 we didn't see any increase. So actually if we saw that again, the deficit would be much larger than that. And we've still got healthy reserves, we're still in a position that we can cover that, but it feels like we need a breakthrough in this, and this is my challenge to us as a community. And we've been at this space for long enough, and I feel a bit like that moment with the Israelites when they've escaped from Egypt and they get to the edge of the Red Sea, and then they suddenly look behind them and there's this Egyptian army rushing over behind them, and it feels like the army's getting closer. And actually, if we don't crack this deficit thing at some point, we are going to get into difficulties, and we are going to have to start scaling back what we're doing. And I just don't want us to get to that place. I think we've heard the excitement of where we are and the possibilities, and I feel like, no, we need to just crack this deficit thing. And, we could go through this year and have 56,000 and then maybe have a smaller one next year, but we're going to be years trying to move on from this. And I'm bored of it, if I'm honest, Ben.
It's funny because as a member of staff who's involved in owning some budgets across the church, I've worked at the church a long time, and there's always more that we want to do, regardless of how much money is coming in. There's always this sense of we would love to be able to do this, and we don't necessarily have enough. But there's sort of that feel, over this period of time that's felt like, there are some real things that we would love to be able to do here. That sort of strain has felt tighter than before because of the deficit, and because we're all aware of that, and we don't want to, obviously we're not overspending, and we're not wanting to, to spend more than we have. We're having to really cut back on our spending. So to be able to, like you're saying, to be able to break that, move forward would be, I know from a staff perspective, I would feel as well. I'm sure the rest of the church would as well. So anyway.
So I just feel like for us as a church, we need to move on from this. And if we did, so much good stuff would come from it. We'll be able to do everything we've got in our hearts to do this year. We wouldn't have to scale anything back. We begin to move towards being debt-free. So we've paid off half the mortgage, and we're selling our house this year, which if we get out of deficit, we could use all the money from that to pay off a chunk more of the mortgage. We've got some interest-free loans that we'd love to pay off. I'd love us to get to a position of being debt-free. We could practice greater generosity externally. I'd love us to start giving away more money to external organisations, not just from gift days, but just allocate a portion of our finances just to give away and go, like, this is what we do. And then we'd begin to have the funds to support future growth. So we could start to expand and go, hey, let's do more stuff. So what would it take for us to be in surplus in 2024? Well, Paula Ridgway, who you all know, who's a legend of our Bracknell site, asked that question at the finance prayer meeting last week. And what we would need to see would be an increase on our 2023 giving of about £180,000. Now that's out of a budget of about 1.1 million, so it's about 15%. We'd have to see a sort of 16% increase in our giving this year. And then Paula asked another really clever question. She said, what would that mean each individual person in Kerith giving? Because 180,000 sounds like that sounds like a lot of money.
It does sound like a lot.
I mean, you might have 180,000, but I haven't.
Not quite.
And it sounds huge, but actually, if if our monthly attendance is around 1,000 people, and I think we have more than 1,000 different people come over a month, if each of those people gave £15 extra a month, each of those 1,000 people gave £15 extra a month, so it's like 50p a day.
Yep.
It's like a Starbucks a week. Then that would raise £180,000. And we would be out of our deficit.
Yeah, okay.
If every one of us went, okay, I'm going to give another 15 quid a month, we'd crack it.
Yeah.
And that would be the end of it. And I realised that, that's not going to happen for everyone. But I really want to challenge everyone. I want to challenge everyone who's part of us to think about their giving and just ask the question. So I'm going to ask everyone to pray, what would God have you do? Could you give another £15, or could you give more than £15 a month?
Yeah.
And for some of people, I realise actually some people might actually need to reduce their giving. This is like the sense of some people might look at it and go, actually, I'm not really providing properly for my family. And Paul writes to Timothy, hey, our first responsibility is to provide for our families. And some people might actually go, hey, I just can't afford to carry on giving this much. My circumstances, I need to reduce my giving. I just want to say, if that's where people are at, that's absolutely fine. This is not a pressure moment for anyone. But some people might want to start giving occasionally. And that's been tricky for a while, to be honest, isn't it? Because we don't pass around baskets anymore, but we've just introduced in Windsor a giving station.
Yes, so just this Sunday
you've been pioneering this, Ben, haven't you?
So Windsor are trialling these contactless giving stations, so you can be able to just tap and give, and it takes 20 seconds to be able to give if you want to start giving occasionally. And I would say within, I'd imagine, a month or two, that will then be rolled out to all the sites as well, so you'll all be able to do that.
So I think we ought to make one of those figures £15, even if it's not the default.
That's a good idea.
And actually, maybe you never give into Kerith, and once a month you could just tap on that and give 15 quid, or put £15 in the giving box and just do that. Maybe some of you could set up a standing order to give regularly. Regular giving is just the lifeblood of our church, and rather than just relying on remembering to do that contactless thing, you could set up a standing order and give £15 every month. Maybe you might want to increase your giving. You're already giving, but you could give £15 a month more, or maybe more. Maybe some people are feeling the challenge to step up to tithing and going, hey, that was the Old Testament principle. We're now in grace. Hey, I'm going to give a tenth. Maybe some people want to step beyond that and really, God says, test me in this and give that a go. And some people might want to give a one-off gift, or up for those as well, but really it's regular giving that's going to be our lifeblood. So I'm just challenging everyone to think, could I give £15 a month? Could I give more? That we could just break the back of this thing and just get to this new place. And, the possibilities that are going to open up if we can crack that and get away from this mountain.
That's good.
So I want to say to everyone, don't feel under any pressure. I don't want anyone feeling an anxiety or worry. Don't feel under anxiety that you need to give. Don't need under anxiety that Kerith's about to, go under if you don't do, No, it's Jesus' church. He's Jehovah Jireh. He's our provider. So I don't want anyone to feel any anxiety. Please don't give in order to impress me. Because the reality is the only people who know what anyone gives in our community are the finance team. You don't know, I don't know, we haven't got a clue. So you might massively increase your giving. I'm not going to come and give you a big pat on the back because I just won't know. I'll be deep down very grateful, but I won't know it's you. So don't try and impress me. And don't give if you can't do it cheerfully. The Bible says God loves a cheerful giver. And if you're going to give grumpily, it might be a challenge, but it's like, no, do this cheerfully. Do this in response to God's goodness for you. And do this as an opportunity to think, hey, I'm investing in eternity. I'm investing in lives being changed. Everyone who's invested in our lives, the life of our church over the last 20, 30 years, has made a sound investment. You've made a good investment. Your money has allowed us to do incredible things. And you've heard just a little measure of it tonight. So you're not just investing in like an idea. No, this is changing lives for eternity. It's the best investment that you can possibly make. And I just want to say to people that Katrina and I are taking this seriously. And in fact, we went running yesterday and we had a discussion about our finances while we were running, which I'm not sure was the wisest thing to do.
I can't talk about anything when I'm running, let alone
No,
finances.
well, I think we probably slowed down for a bit. We actually, halfway through our run, we turned around after, and we completely missed the turnaround point. So we actually ended up running further than we intended to. But we felt in this season, we want to step up. And we want to say to people, hey, we're serious about this. And we've made the decision, actually, in this season, to double tithe. So many of you will know in the past history of our church, when we built the Kerith Centre, loads of people gave a tithe to the church and then a tithe to the building project. And that's part of our history. It's part of what God has done in the past. And in this season, we sense God calling us as a couple to do the same again, but to give the whole lot into the general fund until we crack this, basically. And we personally feel that the vision we have is compelling and exciting, and we want to just be a part of that. And I don't want to put anyone else under any pressure. And I'm anxious about saying this because I don't want to make us look, this is not to be a boast or to make us look good or anything like that. I just want to say to people, we're personally taking this seriously. And I just want to ask other people to take it seriously too.
Thank you for your vulnerability in sharing that. I recognise.
Yeah,
I know what you're like, and I can imagine that. Not necessarily.
But we do want to lead by example.
And
I want to say, hey, as the leader of the church, this is what we're going to step into, and hopefully our extra giving will give a holiday of £15 for some people who can't give, and cover some of that. But I think if my belief, hey, God's our provider, but if each of us does what we can do, then I think God will meet this need. And if we can crack this, it's going to put us in such a brilliant place as a community. That's good. I just say we're all in different places. You're in a very different place. You've got young kids and, loads of challenges and all sorts of stuff. There's no pressure on you and there's no pressure on anyone. This is an opportunity. And there are different seasons in our lives. Katrina and I are in a different season now. So I don't want anyone feeling any pressure, but I do want to say, hey, let's just ask God.
That's good. Thanks for sharing that, Simon. That's good. I think if anybody is wanting to know more or wanting to set up regular giving, then the place to go is to kerith.church/giving, and that's our giving page where you can see the monthly updates that we post, as well as an opportunity to give as one-off or set up regular payments, as well as seeing the other funds that are available to give into there as well.